writers. It's so nice to see you. Ranger and I have some exciting news, right, Ranger? Yeah, Mrs. Snipe sent a video of her dog Drake popping bubbles. So I want you to laugh a little and see this video. Thanks, Ranger. And then we'll start writing camp. Writers, every day we have a chance to make something. Remember the question we always think about? What will you make? And that's what we're thinking about today. What will we make? And you know what? Mrs. Snipe made something. She sent a letter to her teacher friend, Mrs. Martin. And I want to show you that because writers, you can write letters too. So let's look at her letter and then I'll show you the steps. So here is Mrs. Snipe's letter, and she wrote to her teacher friend, Mrs. Martin. Let's look at what she did, okay? And I'll read it to you. So number one, she wrote, "Dear Mrs. Martin." That is called a greeting. And she used dear right here. You can use hi or hello. But do you see how she put the greeting? And then she indented a little bit, like she left a little space here. And let's see what she wrote. "How are you? I am good. I miss being at school every day with my teacher friends and students, but I've been busy at home playing with Alex, Haley, and Drake. Drake loves bubbles, so we bought him a bubble maker machine to play with. He loves chasing the bubbles all over the yard. He jumps up so high to get them, we think he thinks they are balls. He gets so tired from chasing them that he takes a nap in the grass after. It is so much fun to watch him. Have you been playing with your dog, Mandy? I wonder if she'd like a bubble maker. I miss you and hope to see you soon. Please write back soon. Love, Mrs. Snipe." Can you imagine, writers, how excited Mrs. Martin is going to be to get this letter? So let's look at what Mrs. Snipe did, shall we? Look, she starts with a question. How are you? She asks a question because maybe Mrs. Martin will write back. Then she tells sort of something that's happening in her life. She tells a little part of her life to make Mrs. Martin laugh. She tells her a little bit about her dog. Do you see that, about the bubble maker? And then she asks a question again. Have you been playing with your dog, Mandy? I love the way she does that. After that, to end her letter, Mrs. Snipe writes love and her name, right? And that's called the closing. Writers, you could do that too. You could send a letter, right? You could send a letter to a friend. You could send a letter to a neighbor. You could write a letter to someone in your family. Your teacher would love to get a letter from you. Hey, the principal, that would be great to do. So let's look at the steps. Okay, so these are the steps Mrs. Snipe did, and you can do this too. Step one, pick someone to write to. And we just talked about who, right? Someone in your family, a friend, teacher, a coach, a principal. You could write a letter to them. Then remember the greeting Mrs. Snipe wrote? She wrote, "Dear Mrs. Martin," but she could have written, "Hi, Mrs. Martin," or "Hello." Those would all be greetings. Then you write the body of your letter. You talk a little bit about yourself, just like Mrs. Snipe did. She told a little story about Drake, and you ask a question so that the writer will write back. At the end, remember your closing so they know who your letter is from. You could put from, love, your friend. So these are going to be our steps, writers, for writing a letter. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think about what you're going to make this week, right? What are you going to make? And then get your pencil and your paper or your markers, and I want you to find a quiet spot. Maybe you're going to go outside and sit on the porch. Maybe you're going to sit on your bed. Maybe you're going to sit at a table and sit quietly and think, what will you make? Will you write a letter? Will you write a story? I can't wait to see what you make. And remember, writers, to share it with your teacher because your teacher wants to see what you're making. Your teachers miss you. Okay, happy writing, writers.